All right, I'm here with Alex Chang, the founder of Landlords. Thank you for joining us, Alex. We'll talk a little bit about the real estate market post pandemic. Get to find out what's been working for you and your team. So, what trends are you observing in buyer preference post pandemic?
I think one thing that is really moving the market is detached garages. I think a lot of people are really after finding ways to generate income from their properties while living in them at the same time. And they've been finding a lot of benefit in finding a detached garage, converting it into a ADU, and providing themselves rental income. Obviously, the rate's a little higher, so that helps some of these younger buyers offset their mortgage payment and make it a little more doable on a monthly basis to live comfortably while owning real estate. So I think that's one big hot ticket that a lot of people should look for is lots with a detached garage that might be able to provide you some rental income with your property.
Yeah, and I feel like that will help because a lot of clients right now are scared about their mortgage being high because obviously we know the rates are the highest they've been in the last 15, 20 years. However, you and your team are still doing great. You actually told me, right now this month you guys have the most amount of escrows you have had in the last 24 months.
Right.
So how are you guiding clients through that?
I think it's one, being able to explain the actual process to a buyer because the market changes so much, right? So from when their parent or when they last purchased a property or their friend or family member last purchased a property, the game's changed so much. And I think them being able to understand where the current market is today helps it not be as scary when you're placing some of these competitive offers because we can't place the basic normal offer we could maybe 5 years ago, right? Our offers have to be more competitive, which gives less timelines to the buyers, less time to think to the buyers and things like that. But if they're prepped ahead of time to know what the entire transaction is going to entail, they're more prepared and more open to placing these competitive offers, and it's easier to land the property that way.
Yeah, and I feel like, just like you mentioned earlier with the ADU and the detached garage and whatnot, they can get additional income to help them with that mortgage payment.
Right. At the end of the day, we want to be able to, the reason why we're winning is we want to be able to put the buyers in a good situation, not just selling a home, right? And understanding where their budget is and what they can afford on a monthly basis and finding how to make that even better by supplementing some rental income and cutting that mortgage payment in half is getting the buyers to say, whoa, this is doable. This is definitely doable. And this makes sense now versus, scratch my head and, pay 5-6 grand for a property.
Yeah.
It's kind of tight. What if that property could generate 2,500 to 3 grand?
Right.
Now you're only paying 3 grand, which, a 2-bedroom apartment in Irvine would cost you, or in Orange County would cost you 3 grand, right?
Yeah.
So now owning a property makes sense again, right? So I think guiding them and finding out how we could position them in a comfortable situation is the best thing for a buyer to be able to say, hey, let's do this. Let's place this offer. Let's lower the contingencies or the conditions on the contract. Let's attack because now they understand, they also see income coming. So now the property makes sense.
Yeah, no, definitely. If the market is so competitive, how many offers are you seeing on each home on average?
You know what? It's still relatively competitive. We're not seeing the 15 to 20 offers as we did, but we're still seeing 4 to 5.
Okay.
So there's still some competition out there, and I think it's more so the nature of the market, been limited in inventory. Some people still have to move their money, which means real estate's still going to continue to buy and sell.
Right.
So we've still seen some offers out there on every property.
And then are you still having clients saying they want to wait until rates drop or?
I think that's the nature of all buyers, right? Everybody wants a good rate. I think our job as both mortgage professionals and real estate professionals is getting them to understand how they can potentially obtain the rate, right? What options do they have? And also the after effects of, okay, what if the rates did drop? What kind of effect would that have on the market? Because me personally speaking, I feel if the rates were to drop, there's going to be a good 100 grand stretch on equity, right? And values. And also I feel there's going to go back to the 20, 30, 40 offers on each property.
Yeah.
Right? So getting them to understand that high interest rates may not be a totally bad thing if one, you could supplement, right, like we mentioned with rental income, and two, if you're getting the home you desire at the terms that you desire, right? So now you're not, overbidding, shortening terms and doing this and that. Now you're actually purchasing the home that you'd like.
Yeah.
And I think that's huge right now.
Yeah, and from a mortgage perspective, right now I'm seeing two types of clients. The clients that have, like a high debt to income ratio, they barely qualify for the home they really want. Those are the ones that are having like more issues in buying in this market. Mm-hmm. And then there's the second type of client that they make great income. They don't really care much about the rate, and they do understand that, hey, the rate's going to drop maybe in the next year, 2 or 3 years, and I'll be able to refinance later. But let me get into a house now, get it at a good deal, and not have to pay 100, 200K over asking, and then I'll refinance later.
Right.
That's what I'm seeing from the mortgage side as well.
Right. And again, it's our job to kind of help them understand how they could obtain these rates. And I think the best way is try to lock in the home.
Yeah.
Refinance the home as soon as the rate's available versus waiting for the rate. Market skyrockets, and now you pay an extra 50 to 100 grand more for the same property you could have got.
Right.
So I think us having those conversations and educating our buyers, I think that's what's helping us continue to sell and buy and sell homes.
Right. Yeah, I personally don't think home prices are going down anytime soon. I mean, probably 9-12 months ago, I'm sure you had that happen as well. People are like, oh, I'm just going to wait for the crash. Right. But this time, obviously, economy is doing really bad, but it's a lot different than back in 2008. I feel like right now, not a lot of people are in bad loans where they have to foreclose and on their home. So I don't think home prices are going down anytime soon. What do you think?
I personally don't think so. As I look at, as I tour homes and see the activity in the real estate market, the amount of new construction, not even new construction, the amount of construction and renovations and how these cities are cleaning up, I don't see the values tapering down. I personally see them continuing to raise in some of these areas, especially because of the limit in our ability to provide new construction. There's no land, right?
Yeah.
So if there was vacant land all over Orange County, I could see how we could create more housing, which would taper the values down. With it being so short in inventory, I personally feel the values are going to hold and continue rising.
Yeah, no, 100%. What would you say the biggest misconception about people when they buy a home?
I think the biggest misconception is kind of like to your point. Everybody wants to buy a home. Some people get a little scared of the home. A lot of big reasons of today's market is the interest rates, right? And that's kind of one thing we teach our clients and help them understand is this is a stepping stone, right? If I wanted my dream home the very first chance I got, I'd probably have to be a millionaire, right? But when I started with a condo and I held it. I got a roommate, which dropped my mortgage from $2,500 to $1,500. So I lived comfortably. I built equity for the first 3 to 5 years. I sold that duplex sold that condo, and I made about $200 grand in equity. Now I was able to use that money to buy the home. It still wasn't my dream home, but closer to the dream home, right?
Yeah.
I invested my money there. I held it there. I grew my equity there. Eventually sold that home, and now I'm a little bit closer to my dream home. And I think that's what people don't, understand is we could wait 5 years, or you could have been in the market for 5 years,
right?
Moved your real estate accordingly and been so much closer to your dream home. So I think that's the biggest thing that I help all my buyers understand is like we're not going to get your dream home, but we can leverage this particular property to get you closer to your dream home. And this is all a stepping stone, right? You're still young, or you're still building your careers, whatever it may be. Don't go for the home run hit. Let's start with the base hits to get your stats up, to get your experience up, to get this not to be so scary. And now your dream home becomes so much more feasible, in the near future.
Yeah, no, 100%. That was a great point. I feel like a lot of people nowadays, when they shop for a home, it doesn't have as many bedrooms as we want it to be because I'm planning on having kids. And I'm like, well, buy it now, and then when you have 4 kids, sell it and buy something else, or rent it out and then buy something else. Right now you can get a home with 3.5% down payment, and you can do a conventional loan with 5% down payment. So you don't need a lot of money like back in the day where you needed 25%. You can get into a house with minimal down payment. So that was a great point.
And actually, you just made a great point about minimal down payment. One of the trends I've been noticing is everybody wants the renovated home, right?
Yeah.
But that's when you get the 50 people touring it, the 10 to 15, 20 offers, the 50 grand above asking price, because everybody wants shiny and brand new.
Right.
What a lot of my buyers we're suggesting them to do is put less down, get a house that needs cosmetic work, and maybe instead of paying 100 or 150 grand more than what it's worth, do 40 or 50 grand worth of renovations and customize the home you want. Choose the colors you want for your floor, choose the colors you want on your paint, choose your kitchen. And now you brought it back to the same value you probably would have been without having to compete against all these other people that wanted it already done. You took the other step and saved a little bit on the down, but applied it towards your house. So now you have a lot more equity. Refinancing and having that 20% in your property is a lot more realistic because you added the value versus buying the value, right?
Yeah.
So I think adding value to your properties is a great way to win in today's market.
Yeah, no, 100%. Now, how do you collaborate with mortgage brokers to ensure a smooth transactions or mortgage lenders?
One, I like to work with like-minded, mortgage brokers, people that kind of are in the industry, not, certain people that kind of maybe established their company 20, 30 years ago. And,
Yeah.
right. Kind of like yourself and some of my other partners, like we're in the game. And that's one thing that we understand what we might need to do to help this client get to the finish line. Because sometimes it's, there's no such thing as a smooth, perfect transaction, right?
Of course, yeah.
We're dealing with a lot of stuff and a lot of people involved in the one transaction. So me being able to understand the lending process, you being able to understand the current market I'm in, the challenges that I'm facing, now help us work together to limit the problems and challenges that our buyers see behind the scenes, right? When you and I say, hey, we're going to foresee something like this on the property. Now maybe you could adjust on your side, or versus you maybe seeing some problems coming on a finance end, and I could say, well, maybe I could alleviate that before it hits the buyer, because then it makes the buyer panic, or it makes them have doubts that are maybe unnecessary. So two individuals that could kind of take control and work well together behind the scenes, I think makes for a very smooth transaction.
Yeah, no, 100%. That's, another great point. I have had someone tell me a couple of days ago, like, hey man, I'm just tired of partnering up with mortgage brokers. Just find out 2 years later they're leaving the industry, because 40% of mortgage loan originators left the industry in the last 12 months. That's a huge number. That's almost got cut in half. So the last thing you would want to do is partner up with someone just 2 years later that they left the industry and now they're on to the next thing.
Right.
So I feel like that's another big point.
Yeah, that's a great point. Somebody that is in love with the industry, committed to the industry, here to last in the industry, because they'll go to war for the client. They're not just after the check, they're after the longevity of their business. And I think that's the more important part when, I love working with loan officers that really understand the game and are involved in the transaction. I've worked with a lot of loan officers that just put it on the realtor, and it's like we're a team here. It's two sides.
Exactly.
And if we could work together, on both of those sides, I think it makes for a smooth transaction.
Yeah, no, 100%. Now, Alex, I know your name is very well known in the Orange County, LA County, and the Inland Empire. So a lot of realtors, when they get an offer from Alex Chang right away, they've seen your name, they've done a transaction with you before, so they're more likely to accept that offer because they know you actually work with a lender that pre-qualifies the client good. They know that house is going to close. Besides being very well known, how do you get your offers accepted?
I think one thing that's very important and it's been forgotten in the game is rapport. I do a really good job to make my first impression, a lasting impression with the listing agent, a memorable one. And I also try to, really establish a relationship with the agent, because at the end of the day, it's us agents who bring the transaction to the finish line. It's the ones that we're the most involved and the most knowledgeable. The seller isn't as knowledgeable as us. The buyer isn't as knowledgeable as us. The lender is knowledgeable in the sense of numbers and finance, but they're not as knowledgeable as the laws and what we can and can't do. So I think that's the biggest thing is I build the rapport with the agent to let them know that I'm in the game. You know, we process a high volume of transactions, and our goal is to get it to the finish line. Our goal is not to waste your time, not my time, not the buyer's time, not anybody's time, but to continue pumping numbers. When they see that and they see your stats and they see the way you're presenting, they're more inclined to do business with you, because that shows you have the experience to jump over the hurdles, right? Versus a rookie agent might panic. We come across hurdles all the time.
Yeah.
A rookie agent might panic and say, "Oh no, let's throw in the towel."
Yeah.
Versus somebody that knows the ins and outs says, "Hey, no, wait, let's do this and let's work around this, and now this will solve that." And those are the agents that continue time and time again to get deals in the finish line within 21 days. And essentially, that's the realtor that you kind of want to have on your side.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I know you work with a lot of real estate investors. I know you have a portfolio yourself in real estate. What some advice would you give someone trying to get into investing in real estate?
The biggest advice I would say, from personal experience, is interview or to put small projects in front of yourself and try to interview as many contractors as possible. I think we're talking about it when we talk about investments. We're talking about a three-headed dragon.
Yeah.
We need a good realtor partner. We need a good lending partner to be able to pick up these properties, find the properties fast, pick up the properties fast. But the big part that doesn't get talked about is construction, and dealing with contractors, renovation, material costs, and things like that. So if you do want to get involved with something like that, I would say learn a little bit about that first.
Yeah.
I learned a lot on my first project to where, whoa, you get material way cheaper here than over there, right?
Yeah.
Whoa, this contractor charged me way too much. This one charged me way too little. But this one was very bad, and this one was just way out of my budget. You find someone in the middle ground. I think understanding the construction and the way homes are built and what adds value and takes value from the home will help you identify what a good investment is.
Yeah.
So now when you go and see a property, it's easy for you to say, hey, this one's a good one, right? Versus you find a great property, you're like, realtor's telling you it's a great one, lender's telling you it's a great one. But now you're sitting there scratching your head, how do I get this thing profitable?
Exactly.
Right? How do I get it up to par? And now you're burning a lot of time looking for contractors and doing the trial and error where, you're sitting on a vacant property potentially. Right?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, no, exactly. No, myself, I got burnt with a lot of contractors renovating my first property until I found the one that I can trust.
Good contractors, hit us up. Call us.
Hit us up. You always need more.
Yeah, three-headed dragon.
I got burned many times, and until I found a good one that I can trust, but they only work in specific areas,
right.
And obviously as a real estate investor, I'm not just buying in one specific area. I'm buying wherever it makes sense.
Right.
Finding a great contractor, a realtor that's going to find you the right property, a lender that's going to close in time, have a different product, because sometimes, a property might not qualify for an FHA or a conventional loan. You might need to do like a hard money loan. You might need to do a construction loan. You might need to do a fix and flip loan. So making sure to partner up with a lender that has all these type of different loans.
Right.
And then a realtor that actually knows the market and himself as an investor that will be able to do an analysis and find out if that is a good project or not.
Absolutely. And again, always find properties that, and another investment point is find properties that you could add value to. Anything that you could add to, grow into, convert garages, whatever it may be, to add property. If it's not your forever home, use the square footage, use the land to your advantage. That's what it's for, right? And that's only going to get you to your forever home sooner. So.
Yeah, no, 100%. Now, let's talk about the real estate market. Where do you see it in the next 5-10 years?
I personally seen it getting more expensive.
Yeah.
I personally seen prices elevating. In my personal opinion, I think New York and San Francisco are some of the most expensive places to live in the world, and I'm unsure why Los Angeles and Orange County haven't caught up.
Yeah,
right? I think LA and California, Southern California, are so important to the overall nation that more and more jobs are here, or more and more of our economy gets impacted by Southern California, to where I do feel values will continue to rise to the point where we can potentially be, one of the more expensive, just like New York, to live in.
Yeah, no, 100%. Now, with technology and everything, how do you see yourself as a realtor evolving in the next few years?
I think technology is a great thing for us realtors. I think the realtor that can adapt and become techie, and I think that's my biggest challenge right now. I've really been trying to become more tech familiar with what programs are out there, because we can just connect with more people, right? Faster.
Yeah,
And I think that's the goal for a lot of us.
for sure.
And the biggest reason is because the market is changing so much that our clients need to know these new programs, right? Just because it might qualify for FHA or conventional doesn't mean that's the best loan for you.
Yeah,
And Ricky, loan officer, will say this is a great option for you, which
Yeah.
it is, but it's not the best option for them.
right.
And I think that's an important thing right there, is having a broker that could identify the best option for them. It's super valuable, and then us on the flip side being able to deliver them.
Right, no, 100%. And we'll close it out with any tips for home buyers. What would you say, one tip in a competitive market for a home buyer?
Yeah, the biggest tip is understand your loan. I think through time, the real estate side, we are able to explain and demonstrate things live in person. We get chances to meet with our clients live in person at properties and on our tours, to where it helps us explain things a little easier. I think you guys meet over the phone really, or online, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's important for the buyers to really connect with their mortgage representative, pick their brain as much as possible, communicate with them as much, maybe even more than your realtor, because understanding your loan is the most important thing, I think. Securing a good loan, understanding where your payment is at, I think those are the most important parts. I think at the beginning process of the real estate side is fun.
Yeah.
We're seeing homes and things. Not until we find the home where it gets challenging. But I think prior to getting to that point, it's very important to know what programs are available.
Right.
Is FHA the best for me?
Yeah.
It's available for me, but is it the best?
Right.
Is conventional the best? So understanding your goals, and not just your short-term goals, but your long-term goals. Right?
Yeah.
Is this the only property you want to purchase, and how soon do you want to purchase your next, and what kind will be the next, right? Because we might change your whole direction of what you thought was best for your portfolio with a simple conversation with somebody like yourself and me.
Right.
Will help you start to build where you want to end as of now,
Yeah.
right? And start working that way versus just getting into what's easiest now, right? And then realizing this is what's best for my long-term goals.
Yeah. Yeah, no, thank you so much for all the knowledge you dropped on us today. We appreciate you coming here, and looking forward to closing many more deals together.
You got it. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.